Friday. It's Todd, and I do, of course, collections that I have on Friday. And since I did a tractor video, I thought I would combine the two, because technically our collection is kind of like having some antique tractors that you really don't use that much other than to show or play around with. So of course our collections are Allis Chalmers versus the International Farmall tractors between my wife and I. So not only do we have real tractors, and I got another one at another farm, but these two plus some toy pedal tractors and toy tractors of both kinds, I guess that's a collection. So enjoy the videos about the tractors. And the funny thing is, I was talking about maintaining the batteries. Well, the battery we had in that Allis Chalmers from the auction, it's been maybe 7 years, it actually went bad finally, but we did maintain it over the winters, and it did fine until this year. And it, I mean, it'll run it, but it needs to be replaced this year, so we'll probably have to put a new battery in. But it goes without saying, try to keep the batteries in a warm environment if you can, a temperature control. Put a maintainer on it. Keep the fluids, if it's not a gel, keep the fluids up. And with that, along with the fuel that you use in your tractors, your antique tractors, you shouldn't have any problems. And that goes with the lawnmowers as well. Any small engines, get away from that ethanol stuff and shut your fuel off. It's just like a boat motor. Really, if you're going to not use a tractor or a piece of equipment for maybe a couple times out of the year, or only in the winter or summer months, in the winter months you store it, run the fuel out. Turn the fuel off if you can do that, or put a fuel off and on switch on it if you can. Shut it off. Run your engine. If you can run it out, that's great, but if you at least run it for a while and get most of that fuel out of the carburetor and fuel line, that'd be great. I think you'll find out that it helps. So anyway, guys, enjoy the collection. Talk to you next week. Take care. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye. Hey everyone, good morning. It's Thursday, and I haven't done any videos. I've been trying to get caught up on odd jobs around the barn and yard work. Of course, still getting rain in Ohio, so just trying to get caught up, hitting the days that are sunny to mow and get the other things done with the garden. So I know some of you guys wanted to know about the tractors I got. One's the International Farmall H. That was bought new by my grandpa back in, I believe it's a 49. I gotta look at the serial number again, but I think the paperwork shows it's a 49. And then the other one's an Allis Chalmers C. We bought that at an auction. It's been probably 4 years ago. I got it for $700. I really didn't want the tractor, but it was such a low price. I thought we could use it around here, which we have. But there's a little feud going on between my wife and I about tractors, and for those who never were around farms or didn't grow up around tractors, the color is a big tease item between the farmers and back in the day, and it still is today. A lot of the farmers still tease each other, but not as much because you lost a lot of the big tractor companies that make tractors. But you know, orange, Allis Chalmers, red is Farmall International, and green, of course, is your John Deere's. And you got some Fords in there too, the blue and the gray. But usually you tease each other by the color of the tractor and stuff. So my wife, she grew up, you know, on the farm with their grandparents and parents, and close to where I lived. And they were Allis Chalmers people, and they grew up with Allis Chalmers. So everything's orange, you know. And our big thing when we got engaged and married and stuff, we used to tease each other about the color of the tractors and stuff. And of course, I was an International red guy. So one of the jokes was I bought this tractor to appease her so she would have an Allis Chalmers in the barn. So you'll see there's a lot of orange and a lot of red things in the barn, and that's why. My wife is orange and I'm red. So I'm going to get the Allis Chalmers C running today. I'll show you guys how I kind of store the tractors over the winter time, and it's a big issue nowadays because of the gasoline we have. My way is not the right way. It's just a way I've, with my neighbors and friends and my relatives, we've kind of learned to store tractors this way. It saves a lot of headaches in the springtime, starting them up and stuff, getting them running. So anyway, enjoy the little clip, little video about the tractors, and like I say, we'll try to get some more videos out, but it's just been a busy time. Thanks everyone. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye. The first thing I do when I store the tractors is I take one of the cables off, so there's no, sometimes even though you're not running a vehicle, a tractor, whatever, if you leave those cables on the battery, sometimes that battery will have a discharge, a little trickle maybe of power, and that can cause your battery to go dead early. So what we always do is we take one cable off, that way there is no release, and then what we do is we hook up a battery maintainer, not a charger, a maintainer, that's automatically turning off when that battery is at full charge. That way you're not cooking the battery. You can overcharge a battery. So that's how we maintain the batteries over the winter time. And as you see, I got one on the International. I have one on all my vehicles in the winter time. So I have kind of like a battery system back there where everything's plugged in. And so if you want a good investment, if you're going to have vehicles in the barn or anything like that that sits without being used for a while, get battery maintainers, and a good one. It's worth its money, or you're going to go through batteries. The second thing I do is the fuel. We always maintain non-ethanol fuel in the older vehicles. The ethanol gas will eat up your tubes, will mess up the carburetor. I guarantee it, you will have carburetor problems if you use ethanol gas. And I don't care how much stuff you dump in them to keep it from happening, none of that stuff works with ethanol gas. So go ahead and invest in some gasoline that is pure gas, whatever you want to call it, non-ethanol gas. Forgot to tell you guys, another thing we do is shut the fuel off to the carburetor. We let the motor run the fuel out of the lines, out of the carburetor, and there's a turn off for the fuel line from the gas tank. That's another thing we do to help in the springtime to get things started again. So it just clears all the lines of fuel so it's not sitting there in the carburetor. So we're going to get in there and try to start her up for the first time, see if it turns over, and I got to pull out the tractor today and let it run for a while, let it warm up, get the juices flowing, and then later today I got a neighbor who's a mechanic, and he's going to help me put the carburetor back on the H. We had to do some adjusting, and that's the H hasn't ran since my dad's had it. My dad, as you know, passed away in January. He had Alzheimer's disease, and it sat there in his barn for a long time, and he kept messing with it back when he was experiencing some of his problems, and we don't know what he did or what happened to it, but it just wasn't running smooth and right. We don't think it was the gas, but it could have been. So he's totally readjusting it, and we're going to put it back on tonight. So. Round 2.